Hello guys, and this week on Film Grammar, I'm going to be talking about the importance of foreground, midground, and background in relation to characters, like what they're feeling, the importance of a background, and also when it's used in certain genres like comedy, suspense, and horror. So to begin with, well, what's foreground, midground, background? Well, this is a very rough demonstration of it, so don't take this as like the concrete example. So okay, I'm sorry, I like this candle, okay? We've got foreground, midground, background. Now, for right now, we're just going to drop the candle because, if I wanted to give like a real good sense, depth of field there, I'd put it right there to establish what, foreground, midground, background is. But we're going to forego the extreme example of a foreground and just stick to this, and that is, I'm talking about film grammar. I'm talking about in terms of cinema, right? And that is, to do so, I have this as my background, my film collection. I'm also wearing a t-shirt here that is the symbol of the Criterion Collection, which, company that puts out, great DVDs, Blu-rays of, important, films. And Armageddon. I'm an elitist. But, no, it's what I'm trying to say here is that, we'll go into costuming, the importance of costumes, later on, but we're just talking about the level of a background here, and that is, with a film, everything is important, not just like the actors. You also have to think about in terms of what you're going to have back there, or what you're going to have like right over here or right there, that you've got to think about, that you just can't, point and shoot, and then hopefully the story and the characters will take over. I mean, that goes for any film. It could be like the most intimate drama, to like a gargantuan epic where, orcs and trolls and goblins and dwarfs and what have you fight at each other. There's a level of importance there. Now, we're going to talk about, here's one example. Okay, got my Phaedrus copy of, Star Wars here. So once again, foreground, midground, background, very rough, but in this, think about, yes, we care about what's going to happen to Luke, to Han, to Leia, to Obi-Wan, R2, 3PO, etc., but also think of in regards to the background that this is a science fiction fantasy epic, and that there are many elements. Think about the cantina scene, about how they go through, the camera moves along and you see all these creepy crawlies just, coming out of the, the corners and, buying drinks at the band in the background. It's supposed to establish that this is really, a fantastical world that you're in. Is it important to the story in the sense what that character looks like or that one? Well, not necessarily, but it's supposed to show you that, for the cantina scene, that they're in a cantina full of these, scum and villainy, that you don't know what's going to happen, that one of these creatures might just come out, and one of them tried to, and, murder one of our heroes. So there's a level of importance there for background. Now, I'm going to talk about in relation to, characters. One good example of that for, a good use of, foreground, midground, background is Buster Keaton's The General. Now, actually, it's a good thing that the cover art for this gives a good example of it, because there's a scene where the main character shows a picture of himself and the train that he holds so dearly to his heart, and that's what it is right there. There's Buster in the foreground there, and there's the train in the background. That is to show just how the level of importance, and in fact, there's an element of comedy to it as well, because in the picture he is so small in regards to the train, that he values that train far more than he values that life. And it's established in that, with images, and then you see it throughout the film, how he's, takes the train to save his girl, and that he's an expert. He's also, trying to save the train. So we got that for the General. Now, I'm going to use a more recent example. This film won Best Picture, the 2010, that is King's Speech. That is directed by Tom Hooper. Now, in this, it's about our friend Albert here. Birdie has a terrible speech impediment. He stutters, and then we have Jeffrey Rush's character Lionel that is supposed to help cure him. Now, the importance of the background here, and that is, there's a scene where they first meet, and on the background for Albert, it's kind of dirty and discussing crackling. It's supposed to signify what's going on with him, that he's feeling distraught, that he doesn't know what to do, while the background for Lionel is very, if you notice, it's got fireplace, it's got nice warm colors to it, it's welcoming, it feels like home. That's what filmmakers trying to establish, with the foreground, background, especially with with Firth and how he's acting and how distraught he is, and you see his anguish right there on the background on that crackling wall. And same thing for Jeffrey Rush's character Lionel. You see how warm, funny, and fighting he is, and you see that in the background that he is a guy that you can trust. Trying to convey that through, just through images. Even, I know, through the dialogue that helps it out too. But remember, that film is first and foremost visual media, and you got to tell that story, through foreground, midground, background. Now, I'm going to talk about in relations to it in comedy, and that's one example is in 1997's Men in Black, directed by Barry Levinson. There's a scene where this alien couple tries to leave Earth, and she's about to give birth, and so it's up to Will Smith to help, give her. And what happens is there's a scene where Tommy Lee Jones is talking to the husband. That's in like the foreground. And then right behind him, you see the birth sequence going on. This tentacle that comes out of nowhere, grabs Will Smith and starts beating him against the car. So that's a good example of comedy, and that is you've got a very solemn Tommy Lee Jones talking, and then you've got Will Smith just going through this really funny sequence there that is going to happen. That just usually happens in like really good comedies, that they use the idea of something serious going on and then something silly, something serious going on, like foreground, midground, and then something really, silly going on in the background while they don't pitch it. Like one example is on Living Color, where in the later seasons there's like an interview going on, and then there's Jim Carrey. He notices the camera's on and he just does wacky things. That's the comedy there. Now, I'm going to use this for suspense, and it's another Best Picture winner, recent one, No Country for Old Men, the Coen brothers, and that is, at the opening of the film, we see this deputy, this officer, he's on the phone. He just arrested Anton Chigurh, that's Javier Bardem, like right there in the center, and he's on the phone, and in the background, you see Chigurh just moving around. You know what he's doing, and then you realize he actually was able to lift his legs up and pull his handcuffed, hands right underneath there, and now he's slowly coming. See, that is a level of suspense there. We're going to get into, the difference between suspense and surprise later on, but that, at the bare minimum, we, the audience, know that Anton Chigurh is coming to kill him, and he's unaware. He's still on the phone. I mean, that is also good. Once again, the use of space there. Like for example, right now, and I'm talking, and there could be somebody popping up right behind me. Speaking of which, we're going to use that in relation to horror, John Carpenter's Halloween. And that is, the one specific sequence that sticks out in mind with this is when Laurie thinks she's killed Michael Myers, and she's sitting, like, right here. And she's crying, and she's upset. There's no noise on the soundtrack, no music, just her, her anguish, just, her terror. And then right back there in this area, like the midground is like the bed, and then you see his body in the background. Then you see it slowly gets up and then turns his head very slowly, and once again suspense created. This no, watch out, Michael Myers is still alive. It's that one. It's and there's another good sequence of that where we see Laurie's friend, I believe her name is Annie, and she's just, walking back and forth, on the phone, and then she moves one way or the other, and then we see in the background Michael Myers just standing there. There's Michael Myers! And then she walks, the camera follows her, and then it follows back, and then he's gone. Once again, good, effective scare there. I mean, that's, the importance of it when it comes to, foreground, midground, and background. That, not only are you trying to establish a nice, a depth of field and create something that's visually interesting to the audience, but you're also, trying to tell the story through the visuals. You're also establishing, the worlds that they're in. That, something like kooky, wacky is happening there. You can establish how dramatic it is, how scary the world is, how funny it is. To use another example, just one last one, when it comes to online reviewing, think of James Rolfe's review of, I think his second or third review of when it came to this Ghostbusters series. For video games, obviously, angry video game nerd. He's sitting here like this, and what he's got, to use an example, is he's got another table set up, and he's got the Ecto 5 right there, the Ghostbusters car. There, that's foreground. Here he is in the midground, and then in the background he's got another, like a drawer set up, like a clothing drawer, and on it are a couple of Ghostbusters toys. Like once again, it's establishing, foreground, midground, background to create an interesting visual, and that is he's talking about the Ghostbusters, and well, you see it. I mean, he's wearing this shirt as well. The importance of costume. So that's when it comes to foreground, midground, background. That you just can't point and shoot and just expect people to go with it. That you've got to help create a nice sense of drama, of comedy, humor, scares, like establishing worlds, and that can all be done by having a good foreground, midground, background. So this is David concluding another episode of Film Grammar. I hope you all have a nice day, and I'll see you at the movies.